Okay, we're recording. So as I said, this training is really for the non-technical GitLab user. This is someone who doesn't have the background in coding, doesn't have the background in Git, but still needs to be able to navigate GitLab. And so I put this together to sort of help the team. And I'm going to be talking about sort of your first blog post. So that's what this training is going to be about. So if you're doing a blog post on any topic, I know that Val actually put up a template, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to kind of show that. So let me see. Okay. All right, is that popping up here? Do you see this blog template? Okay, perfect. So a lot of blog posts really follow this formula. And go ahead and I'll put the link in the chat, and that way you can
save it.
Wait, I can't go back to the chat. That's terrible. So never mind that. That's fine.
Well, you can do it maybe at the end after you've shared your screen.
Yes, I will do that at the end. So, so basically what this is every blog post needs to have certain features. So here is the front matter. I'm highlighting that here. And that's what we need just to make sure that it gets published in the right category, that the formatting is correct. So title, your name, your GitLab handle. So whatever your name is in GitLab, the image title. And imaging is interesting. We have some default images that you can use, and then you can always source a cover image from some sort of public source. We like to use Unsplash, so I can give you a link to that. Unsplash has just stock photography that's not as cringy as other things. It's a little bit more natural, and it's from independent sources. So I tend to like that a little bit more, but really any sort of stock photo that's free to use, you can use it. And then tags, you can find this in the blog handbook. I will tell you that this is a page that I frequent. Let's see, does this pop up for you?
Yep.
Blog front matter. Okay. So formatting guidelines, this link right here that I'll share with you is, I go to it every time I work on a blog post, every time I create a merge request. This is something I have readily available anytime I'm working on a blog. And so this gives you a lot of background on front matter, cover image requirements, where to store the cover image, featured categories, because every blog post has to be in a certain category. And so definitely bookmark this.
Okay.
So keeping that in mind, I have a blog post that I'm going to test out with you and show you how I go about publishing a blog post. So this is one that I did last week, and it was, I think I renamed it for benefits of CI/CD. So here you see I have the front matter out, post type, content marketing. I don't put my personal Twitter, so I just have GitLabs. So this is the standard GitLab categories, insights. Here's the image that I used, and then description. And all of this is going to show up at the top of a blog. So one thing that I told Val and Sarah about is this add-on called Docs to Markdown. That is a total game changer for me. All of our blogs are in Markdown. Are you familiar with how to use that?
I have it now.
Okay.
So I'm not super familiar with it, but I do have it, and I understand the purpose of it, but I haven't used it in the past.
Yeah, so it's a very, very simplified kind of HTML.
Yeah.
So, instead of doing, a href equals,
right.
URL, it's just brackets, title, parentheses, here's the link. So it's a very simplified way of doing linking and HTML and formatting, but prepare yourself. So add-ons. I have an add-on through Google Docs, and you can do this on your Google Docs as well. Just go to a document and then get add-ons. And then you can search Markdown. Docs to Markdown. This is the one that I use. And this was one that was recommended to me from a product marketer. So Docs to Markdown, add that onto your Google Drive. So all you have to do, Docs to Markdown, and then just hit convert on your final blog post. Okay, and you have the option of doing Markdown or HTML. Choose Markdown. And then it converts all of your formats to Markdown. So you don't have to do anything manually.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a real game changer, because that used to be a really time-consuming.
He agrees.
So what I can do from here is I can copy this and put this in my merge request. So let me go to a merge request. So
do you, sorry, one question before you pick up the whole thing, including the top part of it?
The front matter, I do not.
Okay.
Mainly because the Docs to Markdown add-on, it does add spaces. And with the matter, sorry about that. They're just shaking. So what the Docs to Markdown add-on does is that it does add spaces, and with the front matter, you don't want spaces.
Okay.
So I just copy it directly from that document.
Okay.
So here is where a GitLab blog issue would be, and it would be in this gitlab.com project. And you don't have to worry about the location of this right now. That's something that you'll have things assigned to you, and this will be automatic. You don't have to worry about this at the moment. So I'm not going to overwhelm you with, oh, how do you create this? This will already be created. So you go to this issue, and then you just do create merge request. Just click on that. And it'll do something. There it goes. Okay. So there are a lot of different ways to do a merge request. There's the terminal, which is something that is sourced on your computer. I don't ever use that, and I would say that most marketers don't. So what you need to do is you need to create a file, and this is where the text of your blog is going to be. The problem is that you see this create file. You don't want to use that. So when you're creating a blog post, it has to go in a very specific place. So in order to create the file, if I go to formatting guidelines, it'll kind of explain. But of course, this is blocking how to your blog formatting. I think this is it. So creating a post from the UI. So this is from the site. You have to add a new file to source/posts. So if you create a new file, it doesn't automatically open it here. So here is the way that I get around that. I just click on this. So this is the branch name. And the branch is where you're going to put all of your files. So just click on that. And then you'll see this is almost like a file sort. So this is where you would create a new file from, just like you would store a file on a computer, really. So you would go to source. And then I could have done Control F to find posts, but I did not. Posts. Okay, so this is where the blog posts live. And from here, you can do new file. And now you're adding the blog post in the correct place.
Okay. So
what I do is I go back to my blog. This is it. So I'll copy this. Just do a quick copy. And I'll just paste it there as normal. And then I will come here to the right with the markdown, and I'll just start copying from the very first line. So go all the way down.
Just from the continuous integration and delivery, that part.
Exactly. Yep. Right where the blog starts.
Why don't you grab the last bit of it? Is there a reason? Docs to Markdown.
So this is just a thank you for using Docs to Markdown.
Okay.
This isn't anything that would actually show up. I technically could.
Okay.
I just don't.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of proprietary, thank you for using our add-on. And, let's put some code into what you created. So I don't typically do that. And you can do soft wrap so you can see everything. And here is the blog post. Like it's in here now. So all that we have to do from this point is create a good file name. So here, formatting guidelines. I think there's a way how to name a post is on this page as well. Okay, so creating a post from the UI. So add a new file to source posts. We just did that. And then using the file name format, year, month, date, and the name of your post. And then all blog posts have to have this ending to them. They have to have this file name. So let's go ahead, and I always just copy this and put it in because I don't want to mess up the file name. So you want to put the publish date. You don't necessarily want to put it on the date that you're creating this merge request.
Okay.
So let's say that we're publishing tomorrow. And you just want to have a little hyphen between each word.
What happens if it doesn't publish tomorrow and it publishes the following day? Does that make a big difference if you got the date wrong in the URL?
No. And the reason for that is that all posts go through a review. So the reviewer will fix that.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
So yeah, if the date has to change or something like that, you don't have to worry about that at all. There's always that last check to make sure that everything is good.
Okay.
Post training. Okay, so here we have the title, and then we have our blog formatting. So a couple of things that we do relative links. So you can see here we have this link to this blog post. So because we're posting to about.gitlab.com, we don't need to have this first part. So when we do relative links, we take out everything before this first slash because it'll automatically pull that from the site. So what you can do is you can do the search and just look for about.gitlab. And then it'll automatically pull those out for you, and you just get rid of these.
And that's just for the local links, not for the outside.
Exactly. Yep. External links, you don't have to worry about editing those. Those are perfectly fine. It's just the about.gitlab links. So just go through, and there shouldn't be too many on this. So I'll just do that Command F feature and just do that throughout the post. And again, just leave that first slash. And it's a tough habit. It's a tough habit to get out of because I'm not used to having to edit the links. So this is something just every time that you paste, this is always the first thing I do because it's still the thing that I have to have muscle memory to do.
Right.
So after you paste, I would say this should be the first thing that you do. And then go through. Okay, so it looks like we are all done with that. So that part of it is complete. So we have relative links going. We have our front matter completely done. And now we're just sort of looking at spacing and making sure that everything looks okay. So one of the things that we do is we have these little, I'd say they're like snippets of code, but they basically convert text to buttons and they convert text to look a certain way. And usually you want to make sure there's no space between what the text is and the way it should look. These dogs have literally been sleeping all day. They've been doing nothing, and now they're out of their mind. Now they're crazy. So with these little, and you can tell by the little curly brackets,
Okay.
you want to make sure that if it's editing, like this is going to be a button right here.
Okay.
So if there's this little snippet, you want to make sure that it's right underneath the text. So just look at spaces like that, or where there's extra spaces that maybe shouldn't be there, because sometimes the docs to markdown thing can do that. But otherwise, this is good to go.
How did you get it to be a button prior to the docs to markdown?
So
did you just have a link in there?
I'm glad that you asked that.
Okay.
What I did was I went to old blog posts, and maybe this is a good opportunity to kind of show you how these things look, because it's truly amazing. A lot of what, let me just go to GitLab blog and show you what I mean. So the whole thing about GitLab is that everyone can contribute. And that is absolutely true. And I'll show you. So here is a blog post that just came out. And what I can do is, this one doesn't have a button though. Let me look for one that has a button so I can show you how I did this. Okay. This is the blog post that we're actually putting up right now, the training one. So this is how it looks after I published it.
Okay. And then that's the button. Yeah.
And this is what the button looks like. But what I do on blog posts, I went through the blog and I said, oh, there's a button. I'd like to add a button. So you can go to edit this page on any blog post, by the way.
Oh.
And you can just copy and paste this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's I am so not used to that.
So you just copied and pasted the bottom part right there.
Yes.
GitLab. Okay.
Yeah, so this little part down here, and a lot of blog posts have things like this. I would encourage you to talk to Rebecca. She is kind of the gatekeeper for these things, and I know that she knows a lot more about how to format blog posts. And I just wanted to teach you the basics. That was how I learned what that button is.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense, because I was wondering how you got it in there, like how you knew how to do that without having to create some magical code yourself. Yeah, I didn't see on the initial Google Doc.
Yeah, and with these sorts of things, it's just a formatting piece of code, and there are a lot more of those. So if you're doing images, that's sort of next level. I didn't actually put a lot of inline images in a post until maybe it was my 4th or 5th post.
Okay.
So that's something you can ramp up to once you get more familiar with just the idea of a merge request, and you get a few under your belt. Then you can start expanding on, okay, how can I change what a blog post looks like? And then we can go into more in-depth things there, because it is actually a lot of fun once you get the hang of it. It's like a puzzle. So,
Right. And you're not scared to break anything
nope.
after a certain point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's beautiful is that you really can't break it.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything has to be merged. It's not going to go live on the site until you merge it. And you need to have an owner of something to merge it for you. So
it's not going to be me that merges it anyhow. So somebody else will look at it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you don't have to be afraid of breaking anything. I promise you, you will not. That was one of my big fears, was that I was going to break something, and then, I was going to be the new person who broke this really important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So with this blog post, which is just an exact copy of that other one, with the commit message, this is going to be sort of help somebody knows what you did.
Yep.
So you can say added blog post text. And you want to make sure this is, the target branch, that's all good.
The same as up top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, this little thing right here, and this matches.
Okay.
And then you just do commit.
And then it will take you back to, or you can go back to your issue.
Yes. So here is what this looks like. And then it's a little bit tricky to get back to that merge request and back to that issue. So I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but this is what I do. I click on this part because it'll show you the commit message. I'll just click on that. And then it takes you to this page where then you can go to look at the pipeline, or you can go to the merge request. I always just go back to the merge request that I was working on.
Okay.
And this is how you get back. And then this is a great way to kind of see what all you've done. So here is the blog that I uploaded. You can see it's in source posts. And this is what it looks like. And then pipelines. Pipelines are, it's an automated mechanism of releasing something. So this is where you can kind of track what's going on. So right now, go to the pipeline.
It's running.
Yeah, so it's running. So it's preparing. So it's making sure, hey, do you have things formatted correctly? Is this going to break any piece of the master once we actually merge it? And then it's building it, and it's checking our links. It's checking the specs. It's just making sure that we didn't break anything. And then deploy is at the end. So you can always see where things are in the process. Okay. And if you have a pipeline that fails, which everyone does, this is where you can see, okay, this is where it broke. So you can,
and then it gives you an explanation about,
It does not. But you can see, kind of see what stage. So if it was to break at check links, for example, there would be a big red cross through here. What you can do is you can take that to a Slack channel, or you can take that to a colleague and say, my build failed. Here's where it failed in this pipeline. Can you help me? And someone will help you 100% of the time.
Okay.
And sometimes it's something very simple where, like, the cover image isn't the right size. A build will fail because of that. So someone can help you figure that out.
How, this might be a stupid question, but if you've had a build that's failed, like, how many times have you tried to fix it on your own before you've reached out to somebody else to help, like, for help? Or do you not? You're just like, somebody?
Usually what I can do is, if I see something from here, I'll give you a cheat sheet. I'll give you a quick thing to just keep in mind. If a pipeline fails at lint, that is not something you did. Lint is something that is it's a widespread thing, and there's something wrong in the system. Not wrong, but there's an issue elsewhere that's not related to what.
Out of your control. Yeah.
Exactly. So usually you can just wait a little bit and try the pipeline again. Okay. But yeah, if it's lint, that's not anything you did.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll just do a Google search of this. So I'll, like, for example, copy pipeline fail, and I'll just do like a quick search. So we have docs in GitLab. So dependency scanning. I might check this and see if there's something that explains why that happened. And it's also really fun to kind of go through these docs and learn about certain things. Sometimes it will be very clear that it's like, oh, this is related to an issue with image size. And then you can go, oh, but I wouldn't spend more than like a few minutes doing research on it. You don't want to waste too much time. Okay. I would say bare minimum, Google it, see if we have a doc on that certain pipeline. And then if you really just can't figure it out, go to Get Help or Questions. Actually, go to Questions. Questions is the best Slack channel if you're having any sort of issues. And then, you know, even if that feels like it's too big, like, oh, I'm really new and I don't want to embarrass myself, just put it in content. Just do it in the content channel, and one of us will be more than happy to go through it with you. But as you get more comfortable, it won't be quite as daunting, because everybody fails and everybody messes up and everybody gets stuck on things, and everyone's so understanding of it.
I'm in the question Slack thing now, and I see the questions all the time, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's common that people are asking these random questions.
People ask questions all the time. Yeah. And it's wonderful. I think it's really great.
Yeah.
And if you can go ahead and once a merge request is running, you can totally just work on other things. You don't have to watch it like a hawk. It's doing things in the background. If you want to check on the progress, you can always go to this issue here, and it'll show all of your related merge requests. Yeah. And you can just see, oh, pipeline running.
Right. So when it's done running and say it's successful in the run, then do you tag somebody who can actually finish the merge for you?
Exactly. Okay. So in our case, Rebecca is our editor. So she, once this pipeline is perfect, this is ready to go, you can go ahead and start tagging her on things. So you can assign this to Rebecca. So
do you hit the resolve work in progress status button or no?
You do not. Okay. Yeah, that's not anything you have to worry about. I think that's purely for the approver. Okay. So I'll assign this to her, and then I will at her in the merge request. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's assigned to her. I tag her in this, and then the other place you want to tag her is in this issue. So you want to make sure that she is
on the right hand side. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll remove myself from this. So this becomes her. Labels. This gets a little bit tricky, but do blog post and then review. So Rebecca will probably go more in depth on how to use labels. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a separate thing you don't have to worry about just yet. But so I'll assign it to her, and then this merge request is in her name. And then what'll happen inevitably, and this still happens with me, she might have some things that she's noticed or have some critiques or have some things that I need to go back and work on. and then she'll tag me in the merge request and reassign it to me, and then you can make changes pretty much the same way.
Okay. So this is how, I was just going to ask you that question. This is how she would edit it from a content standpoint also, not just from like the Git standpoint, but from, okay.
Exactly. Anything that she changes from here, and it's really easy. So if she says, hey, I don't like, could you check on this, this link? So she can say, oh, this should be a direct quote. Can you change this? All you have to do is you can go into this source post and just edit.
Okay.
And then you can just make all your changes here and then commit.
Okay. So she doesn't ever look at your Google Doc that you're working Google Doc use?
No.
Okay.
That Google Doc is purely for you.
For you.
And I wouldn't say that it's an official way of working with a merge request. You use it as the bones, and then everything from here, the reviewer is just going to take a look at the merge request.
Okay.
Yeah, because merge requests have a lot of functionality that's pretty cool. They can, so they can add comments. They can highlight certain things and make recommendations on certain sections. So that'll be a lot clearer once you actually have a few merge requests come through. There's a lot of really fun review capabilities. So they can highlight something and make suggested changes, and then you can say yes. And then it'll create a merge request for you automatically.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say just start really simple and just get the hang of using the system. And then I'm more than happy to do another training where we can revisit some of the more advanced things. But I think the merge requests are kind of fun once you start doing them, because it is like a puzzle for me. So, and even when you've done your first one, you can do a default cover image. And then after that first one, we can look at sourcing a cover image and how to put that in and how to upload that. That's really fun too. Okay. So, but those are the basics. Those are the basics of creating a merge request and getting a blog post live.
That's helpful. Thank you. Because I know being in here with you, I'm like, oh, it looks great. But going back and being alone, you're like, I can't. So it will be helpful to review this later.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm putting a blog post in there because I do have one that I've written, but it's in a Google Doc still. So it's kind of just sitting in the Google Doc, like waiting to get moved over.
Yeah.
So I can work on that.
What you could even do, and I do invite you to do this, you can do a Zoom call with me. I won't do anything. I'll just watch you do it.
Yep.
And you can just share your screen, and I'm more than happy to be a spy and look at how you're doing things. And if you're absolutely stuck, I can point you in the right direction if you feel, but you know, some people it's different. I don't like someone looking over my shoulder. I'd rather just fail.
Yeah. I might just do it a few times or like, you know, play around with it myself first.
Yeah. And I don't blame you. That's how I learn, is just kind of diving in. So just dive in, revisit this video, see if it has some helpful tips. And then I will follow up with some links that
the links to the other page. I probably have it bookmarked somewhere, but that is really helpful.
I do revisit that a lot. And then this new blog template, I think that'll be really helpful. It's still in the editing phase, but I think it's a really good first step so that you can get started with formatting your very first blog.
Right.
So were there any other questions about creating a merge or creating a blog?
I don't think so at the moment.
Okay.
I think I asked you a million questions already. So.
No, I'm glad you did. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay.
So let me stop